a useful technique with I-cord is to use it as a cast off edge. This is the bottom of a sleeve of a jacket, so I'm going to cast off the stitches that are on the needle with an I-cord edging. So the first thing I'm going to do is to cast on 3 stitches in the yarn I want to use for the I-cord, and in this case I'm using a different colour. So I've placed the yarn for the I-cord and I'm going to cast on another 2 stitches in the I-cord, the yarn I'm using for the I-cord. Now I could use, this is being knitted originally on a double pointed needle using magic loop, so I could use the other end of my circular needle, but I've decided to use a separate double pointed needle. So I've cast on 3 stitches in front of the stitches that I'm going to be casting off. So I'm going to knit 2, slip 1, knit through the first stitch of the bottom of the sleeve without it rolling around too much, and then pass the slip stitch over. Let me just get my yarns out of the way because they've got a bit tangled here. Pass the slip stitch over. So that's 1 stitch cast off. I now need to transfer these stitches back to the knitting needle. I need to have them on the needle that's holding the stitches. So again, I pull the yarn across the back, knit 2, slip 1, knit 1, pass the slip stitch over, transfer the stitches back. Now there are a number of variations for, sometimes it's easier to just pass them back one at a time. I'm knitting it so that my 3rd stitch, my slip stitch, is going to sit down on top of the stitches behind. Another alternative, which should give you the same finish, is to knit 2 and then to knit 2 together through the back loop. So again, the stitch from the cord sits on top of the stitch that's being cast off. Slip the stitches back. So in fact I will probably carry on doing it like that because in fact it's slightly easier. 1, 2, but you must do your knit 2 together through the back loop if you're going to do it this way. And I've just caught some yarn there, so I'm going to come back out, knit 2 together, through the back loop, slip the stitches back to the main needle. I'll do a couple more repeats and then I'll show you how the edging is working. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm knitting a little round cord, attaching it to the knitting as I'm going along and casting off the stitches. So it's a way of finishing this edge to give it a nice neat finish without necessarily putting on a rib edge or some other kind of finished band. It's also got a bit of flexibility to it because it is knitting, so it has a bit of stretch as opposed to casting off tightly. If you want more flexibility, you could change your needle size, so the needle you're knitting with, if you use a needle that says 1 or 2 sizes larger, it'll give you a little bit more stretch in your cord. Let me just do a couple more demonstrations. So again, slip the stitches back, to the left hand needle, knit two together through the back loop, slip the stitches back to the left needle, knit two, knit two together through the back loop, slip the stitches back to the left needle. So to finish the edge, you just continue working along your row until you've used all your stitches. When you get to the end, you can graft the beginning and end together, or you can just sew it together to bring it together, and it gives you a nice neat finish at the bottom of your cuff.